Hey everybody, it's Emily Dark Schooling and my tree is watching you. And today I want to talk about my favorite books of 2017. So it is the end of the year, it's almost the end of the month. I'm sort of in denial about that right now, but I decided to go ahead and film my favorite books of 2017 because honestly I don't think I'm gonna read a ton more this month. Usually I do this in a different format, but I am so busy right now that I know that I will not have time to play with that. So I'm just gonna give you a kind of top 10 in no particular order. One of my favorites this year was Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. We read this in the Read Like a Mom book club, and it was by far one of the best books I've read this year. Maybe ever, I don't know. This is also my first Margaret Atwood book. I'm not going to go into great detail about each of these because all of them I've talked about in previous videos. So I'm just going to say that if you haven't picked this up, you should. It's brilliant. It's a dystopian book about a future in which women are treated kind of like broodmares. They have no rights. Their job is to procreate, and that is all. And it's kind of a dark and twisted view of what our world could be. And I've not seen the Hulu show because I don't have Hulu and I'm dying. I need to see it. I hear it's brilliant. Next up is Terry Pratchett's Small Gods. I love this book. This is maybe one of my all-time favorite Terry Pratchett books. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. It's Terry Pratchett. It's everything I love about Terry Pratchett in his writing. It's witty. It's funny. It makes you think. It's clever. He's brilliant. Just read it. Just read it because you have to read it. Read it. Just read it. Another favorite this year was An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. This is a sort of Roman style fantasy. It feels very Roman, very like historically Roman, and it follows multiple perspectives. It's really well done YA fantasy. I am already anxious to read the next book. It was in my top books I want to read in 2018, so I'm very excited to carry on with the series and see what happens, because I need to know how it's going to go. I was hoping to know how it ends. Apparently there's going to be 4 books, I think. I'm not sure. I was hoping it was just a duology. Like, why does everything have to be a long series? But I really enjoyed this. Another book that was a Read Like a Mom book club pick this year that I really enjoyed was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This takes place in Lithuania in the 1940s during World War II, and it follows people who were evacuated from their homes and sent to live in Siberia, and it's a really harrowing story. It's not something you often read about, and so this was really interesting and really sad, and I really want to read more of Ruta Sepetys' books. I know there's another one, Salt to the Sea, that I haven't gotten to yet, that my daughter read and said I should get to, so I should probably put that on my TBR. But this book is beautiful. Another book I read this year that was awesome is Blood for Blood by Ryan Groudon. This is the second book in the Wolf by Wolf duology. I love this series. This is probably my favorite series that I've read in the last year or two, and it's just fantastic. I want to read everything that Ryan Groudon writes. This book is an alternate history about World War II and what would happen if the Axis powers had won. And it's about a girl who has to murder Hitler and kind of end this whole cycle. It takes place, I think, is it 10 years after the events of World War II? I think it's in the 1950s. And it's just fantastic. I love Yael is the main character. She's amazing. I just think this book is spectacular. This series wraps up really well. It's the perfect package. It's got everything you want in a story. It's exciting, there's adventure, there's some romance. I just thought this book was amazing. I technically have not finished this as of yet, but the other books are in my pile to finish this month. I have 3 more. I've read the first 3 books in the Lock and Key series by Joe Hill, and I have really enjoyed it. I really want to get to the other 3 so I can see how it ends. This series is kind of hard to explain. It's about this family who has suffered a tragedy. They've moved to this old house that belonged to their family, and it's filled with these weird keys, and the keys can do all kinds of weird things. There's this evil presence that wants the keys, and it's trying to force them, the children, to sort of give them up to it. And I don't know how to say more than that without giving spoilers, but it's so weird and different, and I love it. The artwork in this is also really great. I really love how beautiful it is. It's very bright and colorful, and it works really well with the text. So. Next up is Stephen King's It. This was a reread I did this year in anticipation of the movie coming out, and it is still one of my all-time favorite books. I'm not going to go into a lot of explanation here. You probably know what this is about, so I really loved the reread. I love it more every time I read it, I think. I read Scythe by Neal Shusterman, and I really loved this book. I actually need to read more Neal Shusterman's books. I always say that. I still haven't picked up any more, but his books are so interesting and different. I love the places he goes in his imagination, and he builds these worlds so beautifully that they feel real. And this series, and it will be a series, the second book comes out next month. I'm really excited for Thunderhead. That's probably one of my most anticipated books coming up at the beginning of the year. Basically, this is a future in which there is no more death. We've conquered death and sickness, and people can be immortal. But to keep the population under control, we have scythes, who are tasked with killing people, basically. Their job is to kill. And they have limits and they have rules that they follow, but each scythe kind of makes their own rules. And you have the old guard scythes who've been at this for a very long time, and then you have the kind of newer ones that have their new modern ideas on what they think their job should be. And this book follows 2 apprentice scythes, and it's crazy, it's really interesting, it's really well thought out. Like, it's very believable, the way he's got this world built. And I'm very excited to know what happens next, because I don't know if it's going to be a long-running series or just a duology. I'm not really sure. But I'll read all of it because it's just really well done. I'm excited to see where the series goes. Next, I want to talk about The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book is beautiful. This is a kind of retelling of the Iliad. It follows Patroclus, and it's his perspective on the events of the story and his relationship with Achilles, and it's just so beautiful. This book is just gorgeous. The writing is beautiful. The way Patroclus' voice it is written, and his experiences, and his love for Achilles, and all of it, it's just stunning. This book was my probably biggest surprise of the year. I knew I was going to like it. It's historical fiction. It's ancient history. It's a story that I was pretty well known. I just didn't know I was going to fall in love with it so hard. I want to read more of Madeline Miller's work too. She is a scholar who studied ancient Greek and the Iliad itself, and so she'd put her perspective in it, and I love this book so much. I highly recommend it. And finally, the last but not least, I want to shout out to Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I love Neil Gaiman's books. I really enjoyed this. I love mythology. I found this to be really well done. It felt very much like a bard kind of telling the stories around a fire. Like, it felt very much like you could hear the stories being told aloud. And it was a lot of fun. And of course, as a runner-up, I gotta plug my book that I wrote in 2017, A Literary Education Adapting Charlotte Mason for Modern Secular Homeschooling by me, Emily Cook. This is all you need to know about Charlotte Mason homeschooling. It will guide you through creating this method in your own homeschool. It makes it easy for you. I tried my hardest to kind of give this a conversational tone and make it really easy for you to understand how this kind of schooling can work for you. It's also kind of like a journal of my experiences homeschooling my own children, so you should check this out. So these are my top 10 books from 2017. I'm excited to see what the new year brings and what books I end up falling in love with in the next year. whoa, I'm gonna drop these. What are your favorite books from 2017? Share down below in the comments and we can chat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.